Hi everyone. In this video we are going to see about magical methods in Python. We will see first of all what is a magical method, how we can create them, how we can use them in our class, and after that we are going to see operator overloading by using these magical method. So without doing further delay, let's get into this. As you guys can see that I am in a PyCharm, and let me write a lecture 24 first of all, because this is our lecture 24. Now guys, let's see first of all what is a magical method. So I'm going to write a magical method. Alright guys, so magical method, just you need to know one thing, a method which have double underscore in the beginning of name and double underscore at the end of the name in a class. So whenever you have a method in a class which have double underscore in the beginning of a name and double underscore at the end of the name, that is a magical method. And one example, you know that a constructor, you know that we use underscore underscore init underscore underscore, right? So you can see that init is a word and we have double underscore before this init and double underscore after this init. So this is also a magical method. So I hope now you understood that what is a magical method, and it performs function which a normal method can't perform. So guys, you can see on my screen also these are some magical method I have listed out from a lot of method we have in a Python class. So I have listed out some of the method you can see on the screen, and we are going to see some of the method also in our code. So first of all guys, let's see this str method, how we can use this method. So I'm going to comment on these things and I'm going to create a class. So I'm going to say class age. So guys, this class age will have a constructor define underscore underscore init, and guys, this constructor is going to have one value from the user as well. So I'm going to store in a variable, and now guys, I'm going to define an attribute self.age, and this will have the age of it, which will be passed by the user. Alright guys, so we have created a class and we initialize an attribute as well in a class with the age. Now guys, what I want to create an object. Let me create age underscore p1, means age of person 1, and let me say age, and I'm passing the age, let's say 30. So this p1 person has a age 30, right? Now what I want to print that age. One way you can do that, you can write a display method. Let me show you. Define display, and in that you can say print and self.age, right? And now what you can do, you can say age underscore p1 dot display, and now guys, if I run this code, you guys can see that I got 30. This person age p1 has a 30 age, right? Now what I don't want that, I want that this print object, if I print this object only, then I should get my 30 age. How can I do that? I can use a magical method here. So let me show you how I can do that. So I'm going to comment this thing and I'm going to delete this display method as well. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to say print age underscore p1. Now if I run this code, you guys can see that I got an address, right? It hasn't printed me 30. Why? Because we don't have a print method on object. I can't print an object. So what I can do that, I can define a magical method here, which is str. So I'm going to say define double underscore str double underscore. So basically this is a method which is going to return a string and which can be displayed by printing an object. So I'm going to return a string here, return, and here I'm going to say a string. So basically I want to use my variable as well, and I want to convert that in a string. So I can use a f string f, and inside this f string I am going to use my variable self.age. Alright guys, so now if I print this age p1 object here, and if I run this code now, you guys can see that now I got value 30. I didn't get any address. So I hope now you understood that if you want to print any object, then you can use this str magical method, which is going to return an string, and that string can be print by printing that object. So here you can return any string which you want to print by printing that object. So I return here age, so I am getting age. So we have seen a magical method here. We have a lot of magical methods. So we are going to see some of the magical method on the basis of comparison. So let's move to that part. So here guys, I'm going to comment all these things, and guys, here I'm going to write magical method for comparison. Alright guys, now I'm going to here use some magical methods which will be used to compare. So here you can see on the screen also that we have some of the method for comparison. We have less than lt, we have greater than gt, we have less than equal to le. So we have these methods for comparison, and we are going to see some of these method in our this code. So I'm going to create a class first, class, and the class name I'm going to use a data. And guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to initialize the constructor which is going to take a value. So I'm going to say define init, and here I'm going to take a value, so I'm going to use here x, and here self dot value is equal to x, right? Now guys, I'm going to create an object. I'm going to say object means obj1, this is our first object, and I'm going to say a data of 10. So this object 1 have a 10 value, right? Now if I print that object, so I can't do that directly, so I have to use a define str, define underscore underscore str, and here I'm going to return f string of my self dot value. So now if I print that obj1, you can see that I got a value 10, which we have already seen our last part. Now what I'm going to do, now guys, I'm going to create another object. Let me create another object obj2, which is having a value 20. Alright guys, so if I print that object also, print obj2, and if I run this code, you guys can see that first object 10, second object 20. Alright, now I'm going to comment this, and I'm going to use some comparison here. So guys, I want to compare this obj1 and obj2. I want to say which one has a greater value. So I want to say that like obj1 greater than obj2. This will tell that obj1 is greater than obj2 or not. If it is greater than, then it's going to print true, otherwise it's going to return false, right? And but guys, we don't have obj1 variable, it is an object, we can't do like that. If I run that, you can see if I say print, and if I run this code, I will get an error. You can see that I got an error. This method or this relational operators does not support, right? We can't use this operator between the object, we can use only with a variable. Now guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a magical method, and that magical method is greater than. So I'm going to say define underscore underscore gt, which means that I'm going to use a greater than method, and this magical method is used to compare two objects. So I'm going to say self dot, here I have to use a one more argument. Remember guys, whenever we use any operators, we say like, let's say an example here, obj1, I'm going to use an operator here, so I'm going to use this greater than. So basically I'm calling this operator greater than by this object obj1. So obj1 will always present in this class, but after that I'm using obj2, right? So this obj2 will not be present in class, so I have to pass by an argument. So I'm going to say, let's say other. Basically this other represent our obj2, and obj1 is already present in our class. So now let me comment this thing, and let's see here. So what I'm going to do, I have my obj1 as well as obj2, so I'm going to say return obj1 is present in class, so that means self dot value will be obj1. So self dot value, which is a obj1 value, if that value is greater than other dot value, means obj2 dot value, so that means it is going to return true or false, right? So if it is greater than, it's going to return true. If it is not greater than, it's going to return false. Now guys, I'm going to call this method greater than, and I'm going to compare obj1 and obj2, and I'm going to print the answer. So if I run this code now, you guys can see that I didn't get any error, rather than I got a false, right? False means obj1 is not greater than obj2. But if I say, let me copy and paste here, and if I say obj2 is greater than obj1, and if I run this code now, you guys can see that I got a value true. This means that obj2 is greater than obj1, means 20 is greater than 10. I can use a less than operator as well, so I'm going to use a print obj1 less than obj2. I'm going to comment all these things. Now guys, we haven't implemented this less than operators in this class, so I have to implement this also. I'm going to use a define underscore underscore lt, which is a magical operator for comparing less than, and this is going to take other value as well. Now I'm going to return self dot value less than other dot value. So basically we have seen self dot value is obj.1 value, and other value is obj2 if we are passing obj1 before this operator. So now if I run this code, you guys can see that I got value true, means 10 is less than 20. So we have seen comparison, we can use less than equal to le, we can use greater than equal to, not equal to. These are some magical operator we have in our class. So I hope you understood how we can use them, these magical operators. So this is all about magical method. Now we are going to see operator overloading by using this magical method. So let's move to that part now. So guys, I'm going to comment all these things. Let me comment this. Now guys, I'm going to write here operator overloading. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a class. Let's say class vector. Vector is the best example to understand operator overloading. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to define a constructor, define init, and this is going to take three value I, j, k. Alright. So I'm going to say three attributes self dot I, which is equal to I, self dot j, which is equal to j, and self dot k, which is equal to k. So we have defined three attribute here I, j, and k, which is going to take a three value by the user. And after that, what we are going to do, we are going to create an object. Let's say vector v1, which is going to have ij2, 4, 6. Alright. So I'm going to print this value also. I have str magical operator. So define underscore underscore str underscore underscore, and here I'm going to print. Basically, I'm going to return a string, and I'm going to use a f string, and here I'm going to say self dot I, and here I'm going to say I plus self dot j. Let me use a curly braces. Self dot j, j plus self dot k and k. Alright. So if I just print this v1 object, print v1, and if I run this code, you guys can see that we have this vector 2i plus 4j plus 6k, right? We have this vector. Now guys, I am going to create another object, means another vector. So v2, this is a vector. Let me write a vector. Now the value of this is 1, 3, 5, and let me comment this one, and let me use both here, print v1, print v2. And if I run this code now, you guys can see that we have these two vector right now in v1 and v2, and what we want to add these two vector, and we want to store in new vector. So I want to say that I have this resultant vector resv, which is addition of v1 plus v2. So let me comment this thing, and guys, now what I want to tell you that we can add these two vector as well. You will not be surprised that, because we can add this two vector also. But now if I just print this result vector, and you can see I will get an error, because we can't add right now, because we didn't implement this plus operator in our class. But actually we have this magical method. The name of that magical method is add, and you can see guys on the screen we have this some magical method for operator: addition, subtraction, multiplication, true division, and lot of method we have for operation as well. So we are going to use here add magical method. So I'm going to say define underscore underscore add, and this is also going to take another parameter as well, because we can add only when we have two operand, right? v1 plus v2. So we have to pass v2 by this other. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say that we have these three value as well: self dot I, self dot j, self dot k in self parameter, and this self is basically our v1, right? Because v1 has passed before this plus operator, and v2 have other. So that means we have other dot I, other dot j, other dot k as well. Now we want to add this value, and after that we are going to return this addition value, and let's see how we can do that. So guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say value a, which is going to be a self dot I plus other dot I, and similarly let me do this control D, and this is going to be b, and this is going to be c. Alright, and we are going to add here j, and here k. Alright guys, so we have added I, self dot I plus other dot I, and store in a, self dot j plus other dot j in store in b, and self dot k plus other dot k and store in c. So we have done this thing. Now guys, what I want to do, I want to initialize a constructor here. I'm going to say vector, and inside that I'm going to pass this a, b, c. So basically this is going to return an object, and basically what we want to return that object only. So now we have written an object with this addition value, and that object will be goes in this resb. Now we have this result v object, which is going to store this addition of these two vector. Now if I print this result v, you guys can see that I didn't get any error. Instead of that, I got my output. So if I print here v1 and v2 as well, print v1, print v2, and if I run this code, you guys can see that this is our v1, this is our v2, and this is at last we have this our result. 2 plus 1 is 3, 4 plus 3 is 7, 6 plus 5 is 11. So we have added two vector by using a magical method, and we can add only this object when we use a magical method. So I hope now you understood that what is a magical method. We can also subtract, just you have to write here underscore underscore sub, and here instead of plus you have to pass a subtraction, and you will get your subtraction also. So this is all about magical methods and operator overloading. You can overload an operator by using a magical method. And if you guys like this video, if you understand very well about magical method and operator overloading, give a thumbs up to this video and subscribe my channel. Meet you in the next video. Thank you.